Hello, my friends. This is going to be a Gabby video. For some reason or other, I think I touch upon 4 or 5 different subjects, from hair to garden to cooking to things that we need in our lives to help us in and out of cars, to help us with our arthritic knees, all sorts of things. So grab a cold drink, settle in, as I'm on a roll. Hello, my friends. Well, it's early afternoon on Friday, and I was out here very early this morning doing a lot of deadheading of roses and clipping and watering and checking out my new tomato plants and getting back to filling in some of these signs. You know, when we started our replanting, gosh, it must have been 3 months ago, and now the garden is just so prolific right now. It's beautiful, and we're enjoying it no end. And we have all sorts of new birdies because of our hummingbird feeders that we put up. But these things have become something that we're addicted to. Now, I bought these on Amazon, and I think I gave you the link to these quite a while ago. They're long. They're probably a good 10 inches, maybe a little bit longer. I love the stalk, and they're great for all my different pots. And as I buy new plants, or as we grow from seeds, or as they come up year after year, sometimes you don't know what you have in the pots. And it's a good idea to have these because it's good recall. Moosey loves them because sometimes he forgets the names of some of the plants. Here's my new big beef and one big boy tomatoes. I'm counting on you guys. I do have to transplant this one. This is getting big. Now, I have had something eating my basil. I had a new one the other day, and doesn't it look like something has taken the top right off? This one too. Oh my God. And you can just look down at everything and know. Now, one thing he also did was he bought that app that so many of you have and have told us about. And that's the app where you can take a picture of the plant if you don't know what it is, and it will tell you exactly what it is and how to take care of it. He's used that several times, and as a matter of fact, this particular one we have to know more about. I bought this last week, and I loved it because of the color of the flowers and because of one thing that it said here. It's called pentas. And I don't know what that means. I don't know whether it's an annual or a perennial because it doesn't say it on here. There wasn't one of those little sticks in here to tell me whether it was full sun or what it was. The only thing it said here, which made me buy it, was that hummingbirds and butterflies go nuts over this perfect plant. So it talks about a star-shaped flower, which it is. You can see very pretty color. And I'm sure that once I transplant this, it's going to be one of my favorites. But I've got to know more about it. So Moosey has to take a picture of this, but I have my sign ready to go. The other thing that I have started putting on the bottom is the date that we planted. And that, especially with things like the onions and some of the herbs, it tells me when I know it will germinate and be ready for us, particularly with the herbs or veggies. And by the way, I do have my sweet onions ready to come. We planted those in April, and it was a 90-day germination, and so that's ready to come the beginning of July. I'm so excited because those are the onions I use constantly, white sweet onions, and I do love a red onion once in a while too. So get yourself some of these, mainly because they look so pretty in the garden and because you can also put other things on the back. For instance, if it's an annual or perennial or any special lighting or sun. Now, I've also started to put full sun on a lot of different plants. Like one of our verbenas, those beautiful purple colored flowers, wasn't doing well because it was sitting down near the tomato plants, which is in shade or somewhat shade. So it said full sun. So right away, the minute I brought it up to full sun, it started to do much better. So this is something that I'm having fun with. Now, I had bought these waterproof pens to do the writing, and they're particularly garden pens. The markers, which I tried to use in the beginning 3 months ago, faded with the water and the sun. They didn't work outside. But these pens are particularly for the gardens and are waterproof and sunproof. So I think I get 4 or 5 on a card for $6 or $7 on Amazon. So if you have a container garden on your patio or wherever and you want to use these, I'll leave the links for both of these things in the show more description box. You know, the other thing I want to talk about is my hair. I think, as you know, I've spoken so often to everyone about my thinning hair, which started somewhere, I would say maybe late 70s. And I used to have a huge full head of hair, like my daughters still have right now. And the only time I lost hair was usually after a baby in that recovery period for a little while, but it was temporary and it started to come back. I understand that during the menopausal period for women or perimenopause, it can also be a temporary hair loss, or it can be generic. So many different things. But, you know, I went on Google the other day to find out what most people do for thinning hair, particularly mature thinning hair. Now, I'm not interested in thinning hair that people have when they're in their 30s or something, because those are usually due to some form of probably genetic or diet or just something that they have that you can treat with medications or through a doctor or a dermatologist or something. And there are so many serums and shampoos and conditioners and oils and things that are recommended for thinning hair, things that you can put up here that are hugely expensive, by the way. Some of them are, and they take forever, and people will show little bits of new hairs coming in here. Well, you know what? At our age, we don't have time for all that. That these little tiny hairs might take 10 years to get all the way down here, and that's not for me at this point. So, as you know, I have found my own way to make my hair look thicker because of the hairdos that I want to wear. I don't want to cut my hair and wear it short. I like wearing it long. And so I have collected and adopted various hair aids, 2 of which I have in here right now. Now, to avoid the Oompa Loompa look right here, I've done something a little bit different, but I didn't pin them up high enough. They probably should be up here. But what I've done this time is something a little different. Normally, you know, I take my 2 sides and kind of whoop it up in a wave and put it up with some combs. Well, this time, and I meant to bring the combs out with me. I have those puff combs where it's a regular comb. It's about this big, and it has a white foamy thing on the top. What I do is I just stick it in and then bring the hair around on both sides. That's what I've done with this look. And it gives a little bit of fullness for this particular hairdo. The rest of it, I've just pulled behind and put a ribbon in. I have so many of these different aids, but as you know, my biggest go-to for making my hair look thicker is my dry shampoo. And I do have various other things in the way of when I scrunch my hair. I have a few mousses from Aussie and some curl things that I use. And those basically are the things that will help me to fake it and make it. And that's what I've been doing. And funnily enough, when I read all about these so-called fixes for thinning hair, they don't mention that too awfully much, mainly because it is something temporary and it's illusional. It's not something that's going to make your hair grow, and maybe in several years you'll see some thickness. So I'm going to probably not so much do some demonstrations. I've done all this before for you, but if I have time, I'll bring out some of the little aids that I have. And right now, these are falling a bit. But I've been able to find them in white, by the way. Some of my rolls that I have are dark brown. I have one particular one that's like a crown. It goes all around my head, but it's brown, and maybe now it might work, because you know what? My hair has become a little bit thicker, believe it or not. I have been taking collagen, my Vital Proteins powder collagen. Now, what, about 2 years now, and I take 2 scoops in my coffee every morning, and that's about 20 to 25 grams of protein. So I start off the day with that, and also with some of my other things in the morning. And as you know, my morning routine now does include 5 things, including getting that protein in probably within the first hour. And then I have my coffee, and that will be anything from eggs or cottage cheese with berries or pineapple or something. And I've been pretty strict about that lately. And believe it or not, Moosey has joined me. Oh, also my avocado. But then I also have my artichokes, my broccoli, my sardines. So I'm getting other things in the morning too. I'm getting into too many subjects here, but I'm going to do another hair video, because you know what? Of all my 700 and something videos, my biggest virals have been hair videos where I have shown you how to fake it and make it by using various things like scrunchies and particularly my dry shampoo, and then doing different hairdos, some of them updos. Now, maybe a lot of you aren't interested in the short term, but honestly, for those of us who are in our maybe 60s, 70s, 80s, it really works. And for me, the biggest thing is to get that hair up away from the scalp, puffed up, and worked into some kind of a hairdo. So, you know what? It is so quiet and so peaceful out here right now on my patio. It's a breeze coming through. It's very hot today, though. It's in the high 80s. And I know it's been so hot back east. Oh, poor you. I've been talking to my brothers about the heat back in New York and New Jersey and upstate. And when you get heat like that back east, you get the humidity with it. And oh, I remember that. I remember trying to sleep at night with the heat and the mosquitoes, and I remember that as a child. So hopefully you're cooling off a little bit, because I know what the heat. Now, we still have a whole summer of heat coming to us, and it's going to be bad. And with that comes my lack of energy, especially now that I'm getting into my golden years of my upper 80s. And that's another thing I want to talk about. I brought out some things to talk about that subject too. So you're getting 3 subjects in this video, just because these things have come to mind. I probably should save this video, but maybe I'll touch upon it. Look at the beautiful day out there. Isn't it gorgeous? Now, I've been hinting about the next subject in the last couple of videos that I'm going to be talking about this, but it has something to do with getting older and all the things that are starting to afflict us, from arthritis to falls to injuries and just mobility problems, being able to get into a car with an aid of some kind, because sometimes you get to that point where it's dangerous. And sometimes we put these things off, and these things are starting to become part of my fashion wardrobe because I have come to the point where I've realized that in order for me not to fall or injure myself, because I've fallen too much in the past year or two, I bet I've fallen 10 times, and thank the Lord I have not hurt myself badly. I've had a black eye or, hurt my hip or my shoulder or something, but I've sprained my wrist or my hand. Look at all these things that I have. This one is for arthritis in the thumb and also for a sprained wrist. Oh, and how about these things for your feet and for your shoes? For plantar fasciitis, that awful pain in the heel. I've had that several times during my older years as well. So you have to, at some point, realize that you're going to need help. And that includes not only all these things that become part of your wardrobe, the knee sleeves and all sorts of things that are going to protect you a little bit as you go on with your life, because you can't just stop and sit and not move at all. That's the worst thing that can happen to you. You have to keep on pushing. And we've got so many of these things. How many times have I fallen, or have you fallen, trying to reach for something? That's happened to me out in my shed, trying to climb up on, look at this. This is the most wonderful thing, especially now that we can't bend down like we used to be able to. I can reach down under furniture with this, and I have been able to pick up things as tiny as a lipstick, believe it or not. Isn't this great? So probably in the next video, because I'm getting hot out here now anyway, and there's too many things. I'm standing here looking at a cane that I use when I go in the garden, which isn't too awfully much anymore, because when I get in there trying to walk among the plants and the pavers, it's not steady. And after all, I am almost 88 years old. But if I have to, and one of the kids isn't here for me to go get something or do something that Moosey wants me to do, I do use a cane to steady myself. The garden isn't big enough for me to take in a walker. I also have a walker over here. I don't use that. Moosey uses that occasionally, but mostly to get from his chair to the bathroom or to the bed or to come out here. He doesn't do much walking anymore at all, but for a short stint like that, he will use a walker, a rolling walker, and that has been great. And I have used them. Now, I never thought I'm mobile and I still shop and do a lot of things, but on long jaunts or going up and down the driveway doing my, and there's a little bit of a hill, I do. Here I have the walker on the left, which does roll, of course, with two rollers, but it's definitely a walker. And here is the rollator. I keep calling it a rolling walker, but it's called a rollator, and it's wonderful. It has a seat that you can sit down. It has brakes, but this is the thing I love, and it just gives me such a good feeling of safety. A walker standing straight up, not bent over. When people use and really need a walker, you find that they clench the handles very tightly and they lean over. Sometimes when I'm walking behind Moosey, I can hardly see his head, but that has happened with his back. He has a bad back anyway. But I try and keep my posture up straight, and I know that it's in front of me, and I can go 3, 4, 5 times longer and faster if I use a walker. Now, it all has to do with when you start these things. And I have read, there's a term, I don't know who gave it this name, but there is a term for those of us who go too long without adapting some of these aids that are there to help us before when we need them, but we don't want to, perhaps, let's say, let people see us using a walker because we don't want to admit the fact that maybe we're slowing down a little, or we don't want to wear hearing aids. How many times have women told me, and it happened with Moosey too, that men in particular, it must be a vanity thing, that they let it go and let it go, and it becomes more of a problem to other people because that you have to keep repeating something until finally they decide to get the hearing aids, and then they realize, oh, most people wear these after 60. It's everything from that to glasses. A lot of people realize their sight is starting to go and they need to see up close, and they don't want to buy the readers. They don't want to wear glasses. It's a vanity thing. So this has become a term that injuries from not wanting to use what's available for us in order to stay safe. These injuries that happen when we fall or we injure ourselves in one way or another, they are called vanity injuries. And I wanted to address that a little bit. And I have all the aids here. I have the walker here and various other things. And the psychology behind why you put off using one of these aids when you know life would be so much easier for you. We'll talk about that maybe in the next video. So, with that, I want to let you know that in here is my diet squirt. And last night was the first time that I have had a soda, diet soda. I drank diet soda all the time, as you know, until I had my 2 episodes of being dehydrated down to the bone level and having to ride off in a paramedic truck to the emergency room. And I have learned my lesson within the past year. And I eventually have gotten to the point where all I drink is water. And in the morning, I don't drink the cold water because they advise you not to drink cold water in the morning when I'm trying to get my bottle of water down first thing in the morning. That's one of the first things you have to do when you wake up, besides limber your body up a little bit. We've talked about the 5 things that you do first thing within the first half hour. And I drink warm water, and then maybe during the day, especially in the summertime, I will have cold water a little bit later in the afternoon. But I've kind of gotten used to the water. I'm still not wild about it. I'm not wild about drinking it, but I know I have to because I don't want that to happen to me again. And by the way, the water helps with the constipation and all those other little problems. And by the way, I can't bring out all the aids for all those problems too. But that might include stool softeners and milk and magnesia and all the things we take for that. But those are things you might put off too long. But last night we had the best supper. I don't know what we do yesterday. I can't remember. I think we spent some time outside. Oh, I spent time in my closet purging. Well, at least cleaning out. I haven't done the actual purging it into the black bags to go to Goodwill. But I have gotten to the point where I wanted to just bring in my summer tops. This, by the way, this is a summer top that I don't know where I got it last year sometime. And it's a linen, just a shirt, which I love. When I've just thrown it on to go and do my shopping, I've gotten 2 compliments on it. One woman walked by and said, "Oh, you look so, you're dressed so nicely for shopping. And all I had on was a pair of light tan capris and this shirt just out, and my hair back with a ribbon. And it just is a cool look. It has the sleeves that you just roll up, and it's cool. And I love the stripes. Plus, I love linen. And you're sort of dressy, but at the same time, you're cool. So, how'd I get off that subject? But back to this. So, yesterday, oh, I did go shopping. I had to get a few things. I needed bread. And I've been reading up on the different types of breads. I don't eat that much bread anymore because little by little, I'm just trying to eat healthy and get my weight down just a little bit slowly, which is happening very slowly. But I was looking at the different types of breads and doing some research yesterday on them. And the way I like my tomato sandwich is not emphasizing the bread, because I want to taste the tomato and the mayonnaise and the lettuce, the crunch of the lettuce. I'm very particular about my garden tomato sandwiches, but I like them with a soft bread. Not particularly dill or sourdough or pumpernickel or something, but I want to taste that tomato. So I have always bought potato bread. I don't buy white bread, but when I want a soft bread, I get a potato bread, which has more nutrients in it. It's not the greatest bread to have, but I cut the crusts off. So I'm probably cutting off half of the bread itself and lowering the calories. And that's how I eat my tomato sandwich. But Moosey likes the sourdough bread or an artisan bread of some kind, and those Ezekiel breads are great. So I bought a couple of loaves of bread just to see what Moosey wanted. Well, I also have those avocados from the feed store from when did I go there? About 10 days ago. And 3 of them have ripened all at once. Now there goes the first plane, and I'll wait. Okay, the airplane's gone. So I came home with 3 different kinds of bread, and I decided that because I had 3 avocados that had ripened, and they're those nice creamy ones, the ones that are grown here in La Habra Heights, California, and I made my own guacamole, and I meant to film it. And sometimes it's easy for me if I remember to just film what I do, especially some of the cooking, some of the meals, even the little meals. And I made the best avocado dip, and I happened to have the little cups, the tortilla cups, and we had my homemade avocado dip with these little tortilla cups with a tomato sandwich. And I made mine with my potato bread, cut the crusts off, and the mayonnaise and crunchy lettuce. Now, normally I like the dark lettuce. I like arugula, and I will use those in salads. But when I have a sandwich, I need that crunch from the big head lettuce. And I'm very particular when I have a tomato sandwich. And Moosey wanted his on sourdough. He wanted the crust and everything. So that was our supper last night. Tomato sandwiches and homemade guacamole dip. And it was so good. My guacamole, I didn't use any mayonnaise. I just, they were very creamy and soft. So I mashed them up, and I chopped up some tiny red and gold tomatoes, cherry tomatoes from the garden, chopped them up real tiny. I put those in. I chopped up a sweet onion, very tiny, not so you taste it, but the pieces were very, very tiny. So I put onion in, I put the cherry tomatoes in, chopped up very tiny. I put some hot sauce in. I forget the one, the hot sauce that I'm talking about, but it's hot. And I put some of that in because I like it just a bit tangy, and lime juice. And that was it. No mayo or anything else. and I just mixed it up, and it was so good. It had a little bit of a spice to it. Moosey loved it, and it was enough for both of us to really have a nice big chunk of guacamole. And the sandwich was out of this world. In fact, I'm thinking of having one for my supper tonight. I was going to make, I do chicken wings, and usually have those with some homemade coleslaw. I call it my dirty slaw because I add balsamic vinegar to my coleslaw. And I know you Southerners wouldn't like it because Matthew is married to a gal from North Carolina, and she does not like my coleslaw. She has her own coleslaw made her way. And I know that the Southern coleslaw is made a particular way, but my way is so good. And all my family has gotten used to Nanny's dirty slaw because the color turns a little bit brownish with the balsamic vinegar in there with the mayo. So now I've touched upon so many different subjects, and I'm looking at myself in it, and it does look a little bit oompa-y spread out, but so we have 2 subjects coming up. I don't know when. I'm not going to promise exactly when I'll do them, but one about all these aids, and I'm going to show you how I walk with my walker. I don't need it when I go food shopping because I rely on the food shopping basket, and the same in Walmart. But if I were just going to a mall, in fact, when I went to Apple up at Brea Mall, it's a long walk in and a parking lot. I always take that walker. And you know what? I'm not the least bit ashamed. I walk tall, I push nicely, walk at a good pace. People smile at me, I smile back at them. I'm not embarrassed to use it, and I feel safe. The only thing that bothers me, if I want to go up to the food park and get some of that Sbarro pizza, which I am addicted to, while I'm at the mall, I have to use an elevator. I can't use the escalator. I started up, I forgot that I had the the walker with me, and I walked to the escalator, which I normally would do, and I started to look, and a man was standing there, and he looked at me, he said, "No, no," and I realized, oh my gosh, I can't get on with this escalator. So that was the only problem, and it makes it a longer walk if you find the elevator and then go. But I have no problem using that. I have no problem using a cane if I need it in the garden. And if I'm taking a long walk, honestly, ladies, that rolling walker is the easiest thing to use. And I highly recommend it if you want to stay mobile and get out and do your thrifting and your food shopping yourself. I still like to do my own food shopping because it gives me the chance to be mobile and to walk around. The only part I don't like is putting it away, but how many times do we do things we don't like? It's just part of life, right? So, I think I'll close. You know, July 4th is coming up, and I have a couple of little flags that I've put out, and I don't think we have anything planned. We used to have big giant things up at Colleen's where the whole family would come, and we had hors d'oeuvre competitions. We had that for years, I bet 20 years. We also had them up at our home up on the lake in Big Bear, and we used to all be up there over July 4th. What a great long weekend that was with everybody up there, all the kids. We had a dock and a boat, and we'd be out on the lake that night watching fireworks, and all the boats from people up there would be all linked together on the lake. It's fun to remember different times at different people. It's fun to remember all the family fun and different times. But we used to have these hors d'oeuvre competitions where each family would make an hors d'oeuvre and we'd taste them. That took forever to eat it and to judge, and then there was always a prize for the best hors d'oeuvre. And by the time we got around to eating the main meals, whether it was chicken or hamburgers or what it was, I think we were stuffed with hors d'oeuvres. That's just a little Gabby thing. Thank you so much for watching, for being my friends, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend wherever you are. Stay safe, I love you all, and God bless us all, everyone, everywhere.